Hey guys, so just doing a review from last week. So going back to the 7th, which was Monday. So Monday we ended up testing 9030, 9300, and then ended up coming down to this 8900 level. So those major lows. So from this move on Monday, so if we open up our day of the week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then Friday. This was okay. So Monday decreased, then it made a correction, came down to the low again, made a correction, and then 1 second. I think June 3rd or June 11th was Friday. Yeah. So this was Friday's move. So just by looking at the dollar on Monday, we can go to Euro USD and see how that played out with this. So this was, let me open this up. So this was Monday. So since the dollar was dropping, Euro USD was rising. Okay, so just our little zone right here, we can, just our little zone right here, we can bring this across. So just by looking at the number after, or it was at 122, so a round number, it ended up testing here, then dropping, tested, and then continued up, respected that 122.200, and then ended up dropping down. So then what ended up happening is later on in that week, after we got that correction, like I said, so this was Thursday. Thursday ended up testing 9300 again and then dropping. So then that made Euro USD come up and come to around 121.9. So it ended up testing here, respecting, kind of made like a double top. So one hit, two hit, and then continued down. And the dollar ended up getting strong. So this came just below 90 and then ended up getting strong again and went to those major highs. So that's what we saw with the dollar and Euro USD last week. So how we could have took advantage of this, if you didn't look at this, was we could see here that, so like I said, this was a Monday move. It was kind of slow overall, to be honest. But even if you got in this sell, I mean, again, you have to make sure it's worth it, right? So this sell wasn't worth it. It's only a 27 pip zone, so then it ended up testing, and then coming back up. So realistically, you would want to get in on this buy. So a buy here, and then wait for it to get to that 122.200, and then it ended up respecting it, because getting in at a sell in the middle of structure is just not good, especially when you want to avoid that consolidation. You don't want to be in it when that is happening. So to get this sell here, we knew obviously that the dollar ended up correcting. It couldn't stay below 90, so we can see that there was dollar strength. So this is why we got this move. So just by determining this, we can grab a zone, and it's basically retesting this broken price, okay? So around 121.9, 121.950 is where we would look. So tested once, closed, candlestick bodies closed below, exhausted, and then ended up dropping. So here's your entry number 1, here's your entry number 2, but you would have to really focus on this. And like I said, that's why I'm saying, like, focus on a couple pairs, because then you can take advantage of them. So going down on a lower time frame to get this entry, even the 5-minute, doesn't matter, guys, because the thing is you're looking to see, you're watching price. So it ends up passing 122 even. So it ends up coming up to close to 122.200. So in that range, it's from 122 to 122.200. That's 10 to 20 pips, right? So we're looking to enter around these specific prices. So 122.150, 122.1. You always have to remember to focus on that price. So on the 5-minute here, we have a double top. So we can outline this to see, okay, well, is it going to respect 122.150, right? So it ends up closing, wicking, closing. So anywhere, like I said, anywhere around this price is where you could have took an entry. Specifically, it would be best if you took it at the second hit, but you would really have to pay attention to what's going on. So that would be another good entry. If you ended up missing this entry, you could wait till it closes below 122. So it ended up closing below 122, testing this 121.9. So this would be a really good sell entry as well. And then once you get those sell entries on a lower time frame, whether it's the 5 minute, the 15 minute, the 30 minute, you want to go back up to a higher time frame to watch the bigger move, right? To watch the bigger picture. So if you entered here or here, then what you would want to do is see like where your target is. So this was in the middle of the structure. Obviously, this is more likely to get broken. So it ended up broken, testing, and then continue down. So our major target would be here. Potential target here, yes, but major is at the low, right? And then when we look at the US dollar, I mean, this makes sense because it's not going to stop here. It ended up testing here once, closed above, tested, and it continued to this high. So we know that it's going to come down to this full number at 121. Okay, so that's it for your USD. So GJ. Okay, so this was Monday's move, Tuesday's move, and then Wednesday ended up retesting the structure, dropping down, testing this 154.8, coming down to this major low at 154.2, ended up respecting, coming up to that 155, tested it again, and then dropped. So in regards to the trend on the higher time frame, it's obviously still bullish, right? But if you didn't have any positions and you were looking for one last week, we would want to get in on this sell because on a lower time frame it's correcting, right? So if you ended up missing this sell, here would be a potential good sell as well as here. Okay, so again, to get these sells, we can jump down on the 5 minute time frame or the 15 minute time frame, whatever you're comfortable with. And remember, we're focusing on the number. So it ended up passing 155, came down, corrected, and continued up. So it ended up testing 155.3. So anywhere around 155.3, 10 to 20 pips is where you can get a precise entry. So let's say you didn't get it at that 155.3 and it ended up coming down. Well, just know it's going to correct. So it ended up correcting at our quarter number at 155.2. So this is where you would place an entry right here. Then once you place an entry, you go back up to the 1 hour time frame or a higher time frame, and you think, okay, well, so here would be our entry right here. Okay, well, where's our take profit? Okay, so our take profit is here, and then our take profit is here because this needed to get retested, and that's why I had that level there in the first place, right? Because this ended up completely flying, no retest. It ended up testing that 154 to the T and then ended up reversing. So this would be your TP1, this would be your TP2. So just from here, that would be 65 pips. This would be 100, okay? So if, let's say, you got in on here, so let's say you missed that sell from the top and got it on here, which this is exactly why I say you need to study your pair and take full advantage of it so you don't miss good setups. So let's say, for example, we got in here. This would be fine because it ended up breaking, testing this 154.8, ended up double topping. So around here, you'd have to get this precise entry. The reason why is because when we go on the 1 hour time frame, you can see like there's a major reversal right here. So obviously you'd have to be, this would be more of a little risky trade because this is only 25 pips, right? So if it would have respected it, then you would only catch 25 pips and you want to get out of that trade. But from here to here to that major low, it ended up going to 62 pips, which still isn't the greatest, but again, it's pips are pips, right? So that's not bad. But then again, like, you have to make sure you're watching to see, okay, well, if it's respecting this structure and retesting it, it could go back up. So that's what I'm saying. You're either counter trend trading or you're following the trend. Okay, so that's the biggest thing. But I mean, take advantage of what you see and what the setup is, because like I said, pips are pips. The more the better. So then price ended up respecting 154.2. So let's say, for example, you didn't catch any of the sells and you were looking for a buy position because you knew it was going to retest structure. So let's jump on a 15-minute. That's what the 15-minute gives us. This is what the 5-minute gives us. And then this is what the 30-minute gives us. So if you're confused about time frames, don't be, because like when you're on the 1 hour, it's just more price action as you break it down. But don't be confused, because you're focusing, your attention is on this price, right? And you're watching to see how the wicks and candlesticks respond to the price. You're not worried about how many candles there are. You're focusing on that accurate pricing. Okay, so it doesn't matter what time frame you go on. Obviously, the lower, the better in regards to getting a proper entry and stop loss. But again, we're focusing on the number. So this ended up faking out. And remember, in technical analysis, there's no such thing as in technical analysis, there's a thing called a breakout, where price breaks below that specific number and closes. But in the institutional way, there's no such thing as fake outs. It's just basically manipulating sellers in the market and then reversing the price. That's what they're doing. They're absorbing orders at that specific price. So it ends up faking out, and it ends up testing, and then continuing. So even if you miss this buy at 154.2, again, it always impulses and then corrects. So this is around 154.3. So that's where you could take your buy up. And then you go back on the 1 hour time frame. And you say, okay, well, what's my target, right? So really, our target so it ended up retesting here, which obviously it tested again. So our target could be here or here. So obviously it ended up testing 155.2 and then respected it. So that's still, if you got it from here to here, that's still a nice 100 pip move. If you got it from that correction area right here, that's still same thing, 90 pips, right? So then it ends up double topping and then coming back down. So zone to zone on GJ is super, super accurate. And I mean, you can get it both ways if you want to, because the zones are huge, right? So just from here to here, like I said, is 100 pips. So it's anywhere from 60 to 100 pips in between specific zones on GJ. So it's really worth it. But again, in regards to the trend, I mean, we're still bullish as of now. But we've been so bullish for so long that the market needed to correct itself, and that's why we're getting that correction. But looking on the looks of the monthly, it could still go up. Okay, so, and I'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay, so Euro NZD. Let's talk about that. So, June 7th. Okay, so it ended up retesting this price at 168, basically 200, 150, okay? So just by seeing this, in order to take a buy position here, you drop down, and then this is what the 5-minute shows. So like I said, the lower you go, the more price action. And what we're looking for is if price can respect this previous structure, right? So it tested, it's good here. And so there's no candles or anything closing below that specific price. It's respecting it, right? So it ends up coming up from that specific price. So even if you missed it again, you can get it on the correction. You can get it anywhere in here. So it ends up breaking structure, testing, and then continuing up, right? So there's always an entry. You just have to look for it. Okay, where was that? Right here. Okay. So in regards to a buy here, we would say, okay, well, what's our first TP? This is in the middle of structure. This is in the middle of structure. And then this is more like our highs that we're looking at, right? So from here to here was about 132 pips. Then it ended up breaking 169, that full number, testing, and continuing up, right? So entry 1 or entry 1, and then entry 2, entry 3, if you really wanted to. Because again, we're focusing on those prices. So it ends up breaking, testing 168.8, respecting it, going up. Testing 169, respecting it, going up. Then it tested, it basically tried to come up to 170 and made a double top. So here from here was 80 pips, which was fine. Then it made a W, ended up double bottoming, tried to stay below 169, could not, ended up closing above, and then coming back to that 170 to test. Respected that 170 and dropped. So Euro USD, or Euro NZD, obviously, it's kind of a mess in regards to like looking at the higher time frames. Like it's kind of moving sideways in between these two prices. But the thing is that these are big moves. They're big pip moves. So again, the biggest thing is watching those numbers and how it reacts and looking left at structure. So in order to take this sell, again, M15, M5 doesn't matter, ends up testing, closing below, and then closes below again. So even if you missed it at that 170, you can take it at this correction around 169.9. Okay, or even at the 169.8, really. So that's for Euro USD, or NZD, sorry. Okay, gold is really good. Not gonna lie. Really good. Moves with numbers super, super well. Okay, so this was Monday. Okay, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, so so we ended up coming down to around 1882 basically. Ended up respecting this broken price action because we broke structure here, ended up coming down for that correction, tested it, and then continued up. So our eyes are on 1900 and 1910, okay? So we ended up respecting, and then coming down to drop, testing this number again because we're retesting the structure, ended up respecting, and then coming back up to that 1900, ended up respecting this 1900 and a nice sell because the dollar ended up getting strong, right? We had that huge move to the upside for the dollar. So then on gold, this ended up coming down. So just by watching these numbers, guys, it's so freaking accurate and it's so easy to take an entry. It's just you really need to be studying that specific pair and watching it. So like I said, so it ended up coming above and then testing and then dropping, correcting to around 1896, 1897, coming down, correcting, so on and so on. So just by knowing that the dollar was going to be strong, this ended up respecting this price and ended up completely dropping. So now, more than likely, we're going to drop to 1856, more than likely. But first, a little correction on the upside, and then I think a continuation down if the dollar is strong. So GBP USD, this was Monday. So Monday it ended up respecting 141.850. So to take an entry here, dropping down to a lower time frame structure to get that price action. So again, if you didn't get it at that, if you didn't get it at that specific price, you could wait for it to come down, test, and get it around here for that sell. Then you go back on the 1 hour to do the higher time frame structure, okay? So it ends up coming down to here because we have a minor area of interest in here. Ends up respecting this 141,200 and then comes back up again to that same number, ends up respecting. Here's another sell. So from here to here was 66 pips, perfect. And then from here to here, it ended up breaking this structure because it's been tested so many times, ended up going to that major low. So that's 100 pips. Then ends up closing above 14800, which is a quarter number. So anywhere around this price, you could have taken an entry and then back up. That was 100 pips. And then it ended up respecting again, back down. So, I mean, like I said, this pair is just moving sideways as well as Euro NZD, but you can get good pips out of it. This is actually a very easy scenario, honestly, because you're watching to see how structure respects those prices, and you can get the sells and buys off each if you really want to. So that was good. Okay, so NZD USD ended up breaking above, testing around 172.4, respecting, coming down, test, coming down, retest here, coming down again, retest once, twice, and then finally dropped. Okay. So like I said, to get this entry, this was around, so it's trying to break above 172. That's really what it was doing. So to get this entry, again, you can go on the 15-minute, you can go on the 5-minute. So the 5-minute gave you like a little double top, so little mini double top. So 1 hit, 2 hit at that price, continuation down, then a minor correction here. So even if you missed that sell here, you could have took it here. And then back up to the 1 hour or the 4 hour, doesn't matter. So then our target would realistically be here. Okay, so it ended up going a little bit lower to around 179.2, which is a quarter of price. Ended up closing, and now we're going back up. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. The more that you watch these videos, the more it will make sense to you. But again, time and experience is everything. There's so much information to grasp, so you just have to take it day by day, and eventually when time goes by, it all clicks, I promise. So if you guys have any questions on this review, let me know.